Hi, my name's Garrett Portwood, and I'm going to be speaking on this paper that I wrote. Um, I titled it The Consequences of Scientific Management Methods. Um, I was in a class last semester that went over some ideas that were pretty prevalent to me, and I just felt like I have a lot to share about it, so I might as well do some research on it too. Um, and it's basically this idea that was proposed in 1909 by Frederick Taylor Winslow. No, Frederick Winslow Taylor. Um, and he proposed the principles of scientific management by first going to employ some of his ideas and theories in a steel factory, which is kind of prevalent to me because that's where I work. And I see some of these things still active today. Uh, it's this idea that we can quantify just about everything done in a job. We can break it down to these smaller, quantifiable sort of metrics and measure production and efficiency. Um, Sometimes jobs will use this as incentive method, um, and then also, come and ask you why you're not able to hit your numbers, what's going on, and things like that. The problem that I have with it are some pretty major ones that a lot of people criticize, and what leads to a lot of high turnover rates in this industry. And back then, it was pretty much the same. I have it pulled up so I could actually look at some of the things that were in this article that I looked at. Um, the two articles that I looked at were one from a website called JSTOR Daily, and it was called The Problem with Scientific Management. The other one was from Business Guru that was very much in support of scientific management and the way that it works, because it's effective in productivity. And so a lot of places in manufacturing specifically, or steel fabrication, things like that, this is a pretty typical way of managing. And I'm proposing somewhat controversially, as it were, that it's not the best way to do it, and I gravitate more towards like Maslow's hierarchy of needs and things that branched off of that later on. Those came sort of as a response to Taylor's scientific management and things that he proposed. Um, and when he put these things into practice, he saw very quickly some issues, and that's highlighted in that second article that I meant, or it would be the first one that I mentioned, from JSTOR. And it's kind of a short one, but it goes into some of the history of it and what actually happened. They got workers to load a rail car with steel as fast as they possibly could. So they're basing their metrics off that, which of course workers have to take breaks, they need water, they need to go to the bathroom, sometimes they get worn out. And so a lot of those things were considered when he dropped it down by 40%. And I think they went from 75 tons, which was like the maximum that they were able to load, down to 40, if I'm not mistaken, 45. And it was much higher than the average of 13. So the people that they used, they promised them a higher wage, like a raise as an incentive. These people never saw it, mainly because they either quit very quickly after realizing the expectations of this job. And at the time, it was only like 60 something cents of a raise, but back then it was a big deal. So, yeah, they all basically quit or stopped working and were fired because they wouldn't do any work. This continued. He found very quickly that the turnover rate was going to be very high. People didn't want to do this kind of stuff and be watched so closely. Like there's another example of the motion study where they break down every single movement that's done in a particular job. So this was like this very helicopter-like, hands-on sort of management, and it didn't take anything about the workers' needs into perspective. So I go into a little bit of that in this paper. In my link, I will share the paper as well if anyone would like to read it. I think it's pretty interesting stuff, and seeing it take place in my workplace with high turnover rates, people hurting themselves, people getting burnt out. It's just something that's very archaic, and by now you would think that big industry companies would have adopted something a little bit more human by this point. So that's kind of my whole argument, even though in that industry and among managers, it'd probably be kind of controversial to propose something like that. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Thanks.